hitting the button, and we are live.
I'm recording.
From the industrial wastelands of Michigan to the fruited plains of Iowa, this is the American
Private
Reef.
accurate share capacity.
You are the dead. Remain exactly where you are. Make no move until you are ordered.
We burn them to ashes and then burn the ashes. That's our official motto.
Now we can see you. Clasp your hands behind your heads. Stand out in the middle of the room. Stand back to back.
Who can explain the fascination of fire? What draws us to it, whether we're young or old?
Here comes a candle to light you to bed. Here comes a chopper to chop off your head.
And welcome to the American Greed Factory podcast. This is Nathan.
This is Colin.
Andrew.
We've got a great show for you this week. A lot of exciting stuff going on, as always.
Well, I think you're underselling as always, Nathan. You should be like, I don't know how the hell you can miss this show and live with yourself. It's not really.
I should just start I just to go full Alex Jones, start bulging, my eyes bulging out of my head while I'm screaming into the microphone, but just about the most banal stuff you can imagine.
But then you're like, well, the other way I can think of living myself is use COVID toothpaste, the charcoal COVID stopper that brightens your smile and also keeps you from death's door.
The bristles on my toothpaste brush.
Stop the Jewish voices in my head.
The conspiracy hour.
That's the only sane ending to that sentence. What's Alex Jones been up to? I haven't heard from him for a while.
I don't know. I only pay attention to him when he goes on Joe Rogan. So
Yeah, he's been completely deplatformed, so you have to go out of your way to listen to his nonsense.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah. I only listen to him like as a recap. I don't think I've ever sat down and listened to one of his programs end to end. I only listen to like the recaps. It's like because I will rapidly lose interest in. It's like, oh, this is interesting. Where's this going? Nowhere. Okay, or selling me iodine. Okay, great. That's what I need. Iodine. But yeah, that's what were we talking about before the show? Everyone's back to masks again.
Mm-hmm.
That's fun. I got like a 2-week furlough from that at work. Because my only bitch about those is when it's like 90 degrees. It's pure misery. You got to wear like 4 of them because you just sweat into them and you just wring them out. Like,
Yeah, you have to use my new mask.
well, they're still making us wear their stuff that they provide, which
Yeah.
is like, I don't like. I want to use like something weird, but they don't want that.
Well, unfortunately, it's probably better than letting people choose their own because most of the people in assembly that haven't been vaccinated, they choose the neckerchief option where it doesn't actually stop anything. It just looks cool.
Yeah. No, I want something real, but I want something strange. I want something that looks like a little dangerous, or conveys a strange message.
Just get one of those, those apothecary mask beak things.
Oh yeah, the plague doctor. Yeah.
Or an old Russian surplus mask from World War II.
Or the gas masks they made for children that have the Mickey Mouse ears.
They're fun. We stopped the nerve agent. Look, Billy can still breathe.
But he has polio.
Gas hasn't shut down the signals to his heart and lungs yet. That's because he's wearing Happy Mask. Like everyone pines for this past, and it's like you look up at some of the stuff in the past. It's like, oh, it was a horror show. We go to the bunker together. It's like, yeah, it's going to just saving us this trouble of burying you.
Duck and cover, kids. Duck and cover. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, I'd be the guy who's just digging a hole in his backyard. Like, what are you doing? Building a bunker? No, I'm digging 3 graves. What are you doing? Because I'll tell you what, when there's no like clean water or food, I'm not sticking around.
I got
my-
enough bullets for my family, but only enough food for myself. So
I bought 5,000 of those straws you can drink liquid sewage through, and it comes into tap water.
Yeah. I'd like to see
Those-
that really put to the test over a long period. It's
those
like you was drinking
life
out of
straws.
yeah, drinking out of someone's septic tank for a week. I want to see that videoed. It's like, how's it working out for you? Oh, we're doing great.
Well, I mean, there has been the survival shows I've watched where it talks about people learning to drink their own piss, and they're like, it's not as bad as I thought it would be.
That's still horrible, but yeah.
Or I like the one where it's like some millennial nonsense where like somebody is trying to sell what they called raw water, which is basically it's like, yeah, we're not filtering this stuff. Just get out of creek with fish piss and all this other stuff.
And don't forget our diphtheria special.
Yeah, I think that's what people don't. I mean, there has been some prepper stuff I watch where people actually think about that and have like rain catchment systems and stuff like that with thousands of gallons of storage and all that jazz. But it's like, how many people actually have that as a prepper? I wouldn't. There's like people that have like, I have 60 stashes throughout the woods in this area. We could just keep going from tree to tree, and there's stashes of stuff here. And it's like, well, that'll last you like what 2 or 3 months, and then you'll be down to nothing again.
Yeah. Well, I remember when I heard it took it takes 5 acres to feed one person. And that's with optimal science and machine farming that we do now, let alone just planting seeds in the ground. It's like, yeah, that's what it takes for you to live a year. 5
Yeah.
acres.
Yeah, and all these like apocalypse fantasies, it's basically it's like, oh, you can just not forage, just loot for indefinitely. Like it never ends. It never goes bad, but like no, it's like 5 years in, everything that's lootable will be worthless.
Fuel only lasts a year under good storage. Try to use year-old gasoline in your car, see what happens. It doesn't. Even if you preserve it with like, you can make it last through the winter with that like stable and stuff, but after that, it's useless.
That's why you should adopt my Mad Max solar vehicle. You can get 20 miles a day if you just let it sit out in the sun.
That's Last Man on Earth. They like started to get into that stuff where it's like, oh yeah, all this because like the first episode, he's basically just going across America, looting and stealing things because everybody's dead, and it's like fun and hilarious. And then like in later seasons, it's like, oh, the gas is going bad. Oh, a nuclear plant exploded.
And then the cooling pool's drained, and now all the nuclear fuel rods are just throwing xenon gas into it. I like how in what was it, the Life After People, like they were talking about how all the breweries in St. Louis, like if they were just left unattended for like 6 months, that they would explode. The fermentation would just continue, and they showed like the big cisterns bulging, and eventually they would just blow up. And it's like, oh, that's weird.
Mm.
But things like nuclear power plants and stuff, how would they go to like 5,000 years after people? That's when they totally break down because of the roots growing in or whatever. Things like that would last the longest, because nothing can really grow in them or anything. So.
Yeah, I think in that show, the thing that would last the longest is like would be like the pyramids or like the
Mount Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore, where it's like something carved into stone. So
Yeah.
but that's only like after 10,000 years of erosion, then it's gone. Like that's all you get. That's all humanity. That's the vestiges of humanity is only worth 10,000 years if the planet isn't destroyed.
Well, considering all the talk about the Mid-Atlantic current this week, it doesn't sound like that's going to be too far off.
Well, no, we'll be preserved in ice then.
It'll be like the end of what was that weird movie that Spielberg did that the other guy was supposed to do? Oh, AI.
Yeah.
Yeah, where they're just digging New York out of the ice. It's like, oh look, we can clone the DNA from these bodies, but they only live a day. They find the little robot kid and they can just rebuild him. like you get to see your mom for a day, but once she falls asleep, she dies. It's like, this is the grimmest movie. It's the most unnecessarily dark ending I've ever seen to a movie.
Yeah, but then he gets to sleep forever by his mom's side. So essentially, a child is dead at the end of the movie.
Yeah. Needlessly horrible. Night, Mom, forever. And you're
Is that what people hated the most about that movie, or just the whole thing? I know people didn't really seem to grab onto that movie.
Well, I mean, it's
unrelentingly bleak movie.
Yeah, there's no fun in that movie, and even when it is like starts to get fun, it gets weird really quickly. It's like, oh yeah, Haley Joel Osment, it's weird as hell.
I've only seen bits and pieces
and also like if you pick up on it, you can just see that the world's like essentially just slowly ending anyways. Like it's like the tides keep rising. There's like disorder in the streets. Like there's low on food, and like these are the rich people that are doing well, and they can't even have children. It's like, oh, everything is terrible.
Well, and the big problem they had is they had these robots that looked identical to humans, and it was disrupting the economy, and everything was terrible. And they don't really go into that a lot, but it's always at the fringes.
Yeah,
it's because there's places where they find these robots and make them fight to the death for the entertainment of people, which is essentially like watching two people kill each other, which is like, oh, that's weird. But yeah, the whole movie is just dark. You knew it was a Kubrick thing. I always wondered how Kubrick would have handled that, because that was supposed to be his last movie, but.
Yeah, because I don't know, because that's kind of the weird thing is like it's like it's okay, it's a Spielberg interpretation of a Kubrick movie, and so there's kind of like this hopefulness, like silver lining to it that is just dashed, which I wonder if Kubrick made it, would he ever give you hope?
Maybe that. I don't know. Probably not, actually. I mean, the only Kubrick movie I haven't seen is 2001: Space Odyssey, and that's pretty. And I've seen clips of Eyes Wide Shut.
You've seen Lolita and Killer's Kiss.
Oh, okay. I didn't know Killer's Kiss was his. I have seen Lolita. It's been a long time, so I don't really remember it that well. But
he did some other movie called Killer. It's like one of his really early stuff.
Okay.
I believe Spartacus, Barry Lyndon.
Mm.
Yeah, as prolific as Kubrick is, he really didn't make a whole lot of movies. He kind of made a movie every 4 years, and then in between Full Metal Jacket and Eyes Wide Shut was like like a decade or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, he lived in. Well, he live in England almost exclusively.
Yeah.
Him and his wife just had this house full of books, and they try to find ideas for his next movie, and it's fun stuff like that. He's a weird guy.
Yeah.
Brilliant filmmaker. What's going on in the Mid-Atlantic?
Oh, just basically if warm water from melting icebergs and shit like that keeps interfering with it, we're going to shut down the flow, which means that Europe and most of North America will go under a freeze, and then rains will stop in Africa and South and Asia and stuff like that, like monsoons. That will all stop, and basically it'll be mass famine and a bunch of shift in climate.
Yeah, so
they made it sound like all of Europe.
Global warming, then, if we all freeze, right?
But no, it's essentially, remember the plot of The Day After Tomorrow?
Yeah.
That's what happens. Like that's the jet stream disappears, and like so like where we get our heat from in the wintertime is from the jet stream, because like everything at the equator will get warmth from the sun, but everything like higher below that won't. But the jet stream assists in that in like the higher and lower latitudes. And so if that's gone, then we'll just be living in Antarctica.
What's the time frame on that?
No
I mean,
idea.
It didn't give an exact time frame. It made it sound like, hey, pretty soon.
No, it's just it's basically what it always is, warning signs. So it's just like, oh, additional warning signs. Like Oh, it's
And how can we use nuclear weapons to solve this problem that we do in every movie?
Well, we target the biggest
We're gonna-
population centers and nuke the shit out of them.
we nuked the biggest hurricanes.
Good. I'm for it.
We also start nuking all the mega volcanoes around the Earth, hoping to set them off. So
But we nuke Yellowstone just to make sure that to put down the super volcano before it happens.
reading shit about, like, I read more shit about that, like the Wikipedia article on the mega volcano Yellowstone, and like the track record of like, oh, it created this this year, and this is how big everybody thinks it is down there. And it's like, oh, the last survey they thought there was way more lava than there should be, and it's like, oh, NASA was coming up with a way to like pump water down there, and like it had a 30% chance of delaying or stopping the mega volcano erupting, or it had a 70% chance of setting it off. Stuff like that. It was like that's a pretty awful odds split, to be honest. 30% we stop this mega volcano, 70% we kill everyone. What should we do?
Well, we just research the time. We need to go research the time when Jesus and dinosaurs lived together and come up with scientific conclusions based around that.
Mm-hmm.
All this thinking just leads to bad feelings.
And bad feelings is what we want to avoid, everybody.
Yep. Or at least talking about said feelings.
Or after incurring bad feelings, eat as much as possible.
As much as possible. As a matter of fact,
So you
can throw up into it.
Now,
My
when you say
sadness is in the bucket.
Now, when you say 5 acres feeds a human being, is that to maintain weight, or is that to like keep a gaunt frame?
I mean, that's just based on what the average is in the U.S. right now.
Oh, okay.
So I'm sure, I'm sure they're taking. I mean, most of us are just walking stomachs at this point anyway. So it's probably a big number.
I mean, at least you walk. I just take a mobility scooter everywhere. Just mobility scooter from meal to meal. Going to KFC today.
Speaking of mobility scooters, you wouldn't believe what I saw at Sam's Club today.
Oh, I would.
I was getting some water and some 9mm rounds and all the other usual stuff you pick up at Sam's, and I have a flamethrower and toilet paper, and I had to. I was walking out to my car with my basket full of stuff, and there was like a line of 3 people, almost like synchronized, like swimmers in carts, just moving along like on the other side of me, and I see them like they go to this van and they press the button and the back door comes up, and they get off and they just start throwing stuff into this van. Like they had these mobility scooters, like between the weight of the person and the stuff in the front, it was probably 500 pounds in these things or more. But they just started heaving like these sides of beef and stuff in there. And it's like, what do you ride the mobility scooter for if you can heave like beef and frozen cod by the metric ton into and the van's just like crump, like it's sinking on its springs the whole time. I'm just like, because I just stopped and I'm watching this. I'm like, where is this going? And then they parked the mobility scooters in the cart corral, not even taking them back to the store.
Absolutely not.
And drove off. And I was like, what did I just see? What example of the collapse of Western civilization does this categorize under? Because I was just watching this thing just dumbfounded. Like, what? Who was using? And none of those people needed them. I mean, mind you, they were fat. They were no fatter than me, though. I mean, it's like they weren't like 1,000 pounds or something. And watching them load this van just in pure rage. Like, they obviously have strength, and I don't know. I couldn't believe it.
Or were they parked in like a handicap lane?
Actually, they were not.
Oh, okay.
They didn't have a handicap plate on, but they were right near the cart corral near the front. So you can tell they circled the lot, because my Sam's, I'm parked almost like I can have a complete phone conversation from beginning to end the time I walk out till I get to my car. Because there's never any spots up front at Sam's. It's always front to back packed. Because
I never park up there. I never see that as like oh, a good spot. Like, no, that's just where the traffic is, and that's where somebody's going to hit you.
Yeah.
Parking up front is not good.
No, I well 90% of the any parking within 300 feet of a door here is all handicap, because they don't just have the handicap section now. Now it's all the upfront parking all the way through the parking lot here. But they hand out handicap stickers like it's candy. Like when I had my appendix, the doctor was like, "Do you want me to write you a thing so you can get a handicap tag?" It's like, no. What are you talking about? Oh, we can get you one for a year for that. It's like, yeah, it's okay. I'm not. People are going to bitch at me when I just hop out of my car and run into the store. They're going to be like, "Hey, you piece of shit." And they'd be right, because I don't have that problem. Now give me 20 years and a couple bad knees and I might need one. But
have you ever seen this embarrassing moment? Like, we don't have it in Walmart, but they have them at other stores, but like the hero parking spaces.
Yeah,
for
I've
like,
seen those.
for like veterans. Have you
Yeah.
ever seen somebody like accost the person, like prove you're a veteran? Oh, that's hilarious.
Oh no, that could go so many bad ways. Not only am I a veteran, but I have PTSD. I've got a gun. I've never seen anyone accost anyone over that. How do you prove that? Is there like a
You
tattoo?
don't. You just tell them to fuck off. Like, that's your proof.
Yeah, we have that a lot at Lowe's here. Like, you've got all the handicap, and then you've got all the veteran parking, and then you've got the pickup parking, and then way off in the distance you have where I park, the proletariat parking, where you just like I said, I can walk out of any large store here and have a 20-minute conversation from the front of the store to my car. Because then I got the bus things are going in everywhere, where they just drop people off in buses, and that's taking up parking up front, because they got the commuter buses now all over the place, which none of us wanted, and we all voted no on, but they put it anyway. Don't know how that happens, because now you drive down 2-lane city streets and you got this big bus pulling out, like, oh yay, and it's got to stop 15 times and there's no way to pass it. It's like, this is exactly why I voted no. This isn't New York City or something where we got like a dedicated bus lane. But whatever. That's so people can rob your house and get back on the bus and go to wherever they're going. To your door, thieves. Because we had the porch pirates around here stealing all the Amazon packages and stuff left on the porch, and some people had just the Ring cameras, but some people have like 15 cameras on the front of their house, and they showed these people were doing this, and they were driving around in a car, and then the car like took off, and they had like one of those cart things, and they showed them getting into the bus stop. And it's like, yeah, this is why we voted against this, because none of those people live here. They're not, but whatever. Can't say anything. Just got to eat it. Or you can get one of those big bunker boxes that a lot of people around here have now, where you like put the package in and the door shuts. Like, it's like, well, that's nice.
Yeah, and Amazon has things where it's like a P.O. box for Amazon, where it's like, it's not delivered to your house, it's delivered to like that Amazon pickup point or something like that.
We have one of those, but it's on Grayson's college campus, and you have to pay to park to then go pick up the Amazon. It's like, this is a great location for this. But they had another place spotted out, but the bank next door kept getting robbed so much that they backed out of it. They didn't want the Amazon. Because if you're along Michigan Avenue, it's like Thieves Row. It's like, even nice places, like if you're on Michigan Avenue, someone's going to pull in there and rob you. And it doesn't matter what you have. If you have like a pastel paint shop, someone's sticking a shotgun in your face. Give me the money, bitch. It's like, I got $2. Okay. And they go right next door and rob the next thing. There was a Circle K on Michigan Avenue that they are demolishing right now. They built it new 5 years ago. Brand new. It got robbed like 36 times in 1 month. And they're like, no, we're just done. We can't carry it. We can't afford to carry insurance on it anymore. But that's because of the spectacular rise in crime we've seen here in the last year. It's absolutely like out of sight. There's stories of people. Guy had a dash cam in his car, and he was driving along the freeway, and this van that looked like it was, about ready to disintegrate, like, and Star Trek when they're in hyperspace and it starts disintegrating. That's how bad this van looked. This guy had a dash cam. He accelerated to 70, was passing this guy on a 4-lane freeway on US 94. And as soon as he got up to pass, you hear his window shatter because the guy in the van just started shooting at him because he was passing him. Like, he wasn't doing anything aggressive. He was, and so yeah, so then he like hit the brakes and pulled over and called the cops, and they used the dash cam because it had the license plate of the van right on it. They went and pulled the guy. They found the guy at his house. Of course, he denied it. Like, no, I didn't do that. It's like, we have it on camera. That or somebody else shot from very far away, and you just happened to be. You could hear the gun blast. Because at first it just sounded like breaking wind or breaking glass. Then they rewound it, it was like, oh yeah, you can clearly hear a gunshot, and that's because somebody just passed someone on the freeway, not even aggressively, just like, oh, I got to get around. You're going 60 in some piece of shit, and like, nope, I'm going to shoot at you. Yeah. And then today, 94 closed down. No one could get to work because the Canadian border went on strike. Did you hear about that?
No.
Yeah, they because all the border restrictions are lifted, and so they immediately, all their unions, their border workers unions, immediately went on strike because they want more money. They said, oh, we're letting diseased people in, we're going to be exposed to more, you need to give us more money, and they just shut the whole freeway because 94 will shut down if you close the Canadian border. So it's like, oh, we're backed up all the way to, wherever, we can't get into work. Well, do your best. Meaning what, like ford rivers and stuff, or build pontoon craft to get to work?
Well, speaking of racing,
Yes.
we me and Nathan. Well, did you watch the race?
Yes.
We watched the Hungarian Grand Prix, which, man, what a weird and wonderful race.
The most dramatic race I've seen this year.
So one of the interesting things about the Hungaroring is it's not really a high speed track, and I guess it's like very hot there. So a lot of the cars had like a lot of downforce. Like they put the big wing on the back of it because it's kind of windy. And also they were basically punching holes in the bodywork to increase cooling, because I guess those cars just get super hot. Yeah. So all the teams had a bunch of different weird things where they opened up the bodywork to let the engine cool more. And so they spend all free practice and qualifying. It's all in dry conditions. And then basically as soon as the race start, it's raining. It's raining the whole time. So everyone's starting on intermediate tires, which have grooves in them to get to whisk the water away. But on the formation lap, Giovinazzi pulls in and he decides he's going to put slick tires on, and then he has to start from the pit lane because he did that at the last moment. Which almost worked out in his favor, but absolutely did not later on. Anyways, at the very first turn, Bottas gets a bad start. Bottas is notorious for not being good in rainy weather.
Yeah.
Which is weird because he's from Finland and he does world rally car racing on ice in Finland and all over the place. But for some reason he just can't drive an F1 car on shaky weather. He's not great at it. So he gets a poor start. Lando Norris passes him on the right. Sergio Perez passes him on the left. They basically both cut in front of him at the same time, and he kind of panics a bit, and is and then he's kind of forgets his braking point, and then Lando Norris hits the brakes kind of early. And then Bottas starts hitting his brakes, and the wheels lock up, and at that point, you can't stop the car.
Yeah. Because
these cars don't have anti-lock brakes, so they just lock up, and then you just keep going forward. And on a wet track, Bottas crashes into the back of Norris. Norris crashes into Max Verstappen. Bottas veers off and goes into Sergio Perez. Then a little bit back, Lance Stroll makes the same mistake, gets on his brakes too late, locks up, goes into Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc goes into Daniel Ricciardo, but Daniel Ricciardo is able to like recover from it, but his car is compromised.
Yeah.
And so there's so much carnage and crap all over the track that they have to red flag the race. Second race in a row, they've red flagged the race. But it's like you have 5 guys out of the race that are usually in the top 10. So
Yep.
you know already this is going to be a weird race.
Well, let's not forget that. Yeah, like because, who was it? What's his McLaren? Their one guy, or no, was that no, Aston Martin? Because Vettel was disqualified.
Yeah, but we'll get to that later. But
Oh, okay.
that he gets disqualified afterwards, but I'll explain why.
Okay.
But yeah, it's like, so Lewis Hamilton, because he is out front, he misses all this stuff. So he's good. And then Esteban Ocon ends up coming out in second. And then Nicholas Latifi from Williams comes out in third.
Yep.
So they pull into the pits. They red flag the race. They're fixing their car. Max Verstappen basically is missing all his front aero elements from his car, or like the mid end. There's these they're called barge boards, and it's like just behind the tire are all these weird aero elements, and I believe the entire right side of his car doesn't have those mid aero elements anymore. They're just gone, and they just tape up the car. They just literally sand it down, put some duct tape over it, and he's going to try to race in this garbage. For some reason, I'm not sure why they let Max keep racing, but for some reason, if you listen to the radio call, Sergio Perez, they just told him to stop the car, and I guess they must have hit something that compromised it completely. But like, but yeah, it was weird. It's like Max's car just kind of like lost a bunch of its aero stuff, so he could keep going. And apparently, the red flag allowed them to repair some cooling piping on the car, which if they couldn't do that, he would have had to retire. So they do a formation lap, and by this time, because once it stops raining, it's very hot there, so the track is just immediately drying. And they're on a formation lap. Okay, so usually there's a rule in the formation lap: you can't talk to the pit wall. The pit wall cannot give you instructions about like what to do during a formation lap. But because this isn't technically like the formation lap, it's kind of like another formation lap. They can like talk back and forth and do strategy and get called into the pits. But because Lewis is out front, everybody else figures, oh, we should get off intermediates. Like the track is dry. We should get on tires. And so everybody goes into the pits except for Lewis Hamilton. And they restart the race. So Lewis is on the grid. They have like the 5 red lights that do, and then they go out. And Lewis Hamilton starts the race absolutely by himself. No one else is on the grid when the race restarts. It is hilarious and weird.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there is carnage in the pits because absolutely everybody came into the pits, and there's not a lot of room there. And then Nikita Mazepin gets taken out by Kimi Räikkönen, and that's considered unsafe release. So he gets a 10-second penalty. Alonso almost hits somebody and then almost hits a pit crew, but he avoids it and doesn't get a penalty. They restart the race, so they have to wait. So everybody's lined up in the pit lane to restart the race. And so, but they have to wait till Lewis Hamilton goes by, and then the light will go green in the pit lane, and they can go out. And because the Williams are at the front, or actually they're at the end of the pit lane, so they're the nearest the pit exit. Russell comes in because they're double stacking, so they just did Latifi, and he's out in front. And then George Russell got his tires, but then like he's just like next to a line of cars. And then he decides he just goes for it, and he just cuts all of them at the same time out of the pit exit, and he ends up coming out of comes out of the pit lane in second place. And then he like immediately starts like falling back, and people think it's a problem, like, oh, something happened with his car. But I guess they just like solved the problem. They're like, hey, we can't do that. And so he let everybody by, and then got into the position he would have been had everything been normal. And so then the FIA did not give him a penalty because he'd given all the places back. So
Oh, okay.
so that's what happened there, if you're see, what's that? So yeah, okay. And then the other thing, because Lewis is on intermediates, and he's immediately getting taken down by the field. Like, they are coming at him, even though he had like basically like a 20-second head start on him. They are tracking him down pretty quick, and so he has to come into the pits to get slick tires. And because all the field is bunched up, as soon as he gets out of the pits, he's in last place. So what would have been an easy win now becomes a very complicated and long race. Now that I don't know, some people are talking about like what would happen if Lewis had pitted, and it was basically because their pit box is the first one as you come in through the pit lane, and so he would have had traffic, and he might have came out in sixth place, but he wouldn't necessarily been in first had he went into the pits. It was just kind of a very weird situation. But it would be better than being in last. Although there is a chance that, like, with all that traffic, he could have been taken out by somebody. Like, that could easily happen, because it did happen. Like, Nikita Mazepin out of the race. So you have Esteban Ocon getting chased down by Sebastian Vettel the entire race, and Esteban Ocon does a great job to keep a 4-time world champion off his back. Even though the Aston Martin was a faster car, but like the skills and what maybe like some of what the Alpine car can do, it was able to keep him away.
Okay.
And then Lewis Hamilton has to fight his way through the entire field. He like pits twice. He ends up undercutting Max Verstappen, who is having a crazy race because he basically has half a car. Oh yeah, and then like some people get like, so there's one time Max Verstappen was trying to pass Mick Schumacher, and like they had like a pretty good duel, but that just like, man, how shitty is that Haas car if like half a Red Bull car is better than it?
Yeah. You can have a car that's literally been in an accident at 180 miles an hour, still good, still run.
But because he's back there, like a lot of people, it's like they're used to like this whole season, like being blue back markers, like so they're getting shown the blue flag, so they have to like get out of their ways because they're getting lapped. And so this is like a first time. It's like, oh no, motherfucker, I'm not getting a blue flag. We're fucking racing. And so like all these back marker guys who are used to getting lapped by Max Verstappen, they're fucking racing him, and he's got a compromised car. And Max is still kind of winning, but it was like it was kind of fun. Same thing with Lewis Hamilton. They were not getting all those like tail end teams were not giving him anything. They were giving him the hardest race they could absolutely give him.
Even the Japanese guy Sonoda like came in what, 5th or 6th, something like that.
Yeah, I think came in 7th, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Or no, yeah, 6th. Yeah. But yeah, it ends up with actually let's see there. And then Alonso versus Hamilton, because Hamilton's like working his way up. He's in 5th place, and Alonso, who used to be his teammate, and they have like a contentious relationship there. And Alonso is also a 2-time world champion and a crafty veteran. He does everything he can to hold off Hamilton, and basically it's one of the reasons why Esteban Ocon was able to win, because he kept Hamilton away. Because as soon as Hamilton gets past Alonso, like he's passed Sainz in like 2 laps, and he spent like 13 laps trying to get past Alonso.
Wow.
Yeah. Although, like Lewis Hamilton did like something pretty. He did something pretty crafty when he passed Sainz. Like they were all lapping Ricardo, and he basically like used Ricardo as kind of like a weird decoy to like bunch everything up and like take a dive and like basically make Carlos Sainz like have to get out of the way. So that was a pretty good. I've seen that a bunch this year where like some people cleverly use the back markers as like a shield to get around other people. So yeah, Esteban Ocon ends up winning the race. It's his first F1 victory. It's his first winning race since I think 2008 when he was in F3 or something like that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I guess like he won a race in FP3 in his junior career, and then he like won he had like 9 straight second place finishes. So he like won the championship with only one victory. And it's like, he's like one of the nicest guys on the grid. He's actually somebody who comes from pretty low standing. His dad like was a mechanic and he had a shop, and to support his son's career, he sold off the shop, became his son's mechanic, and they basically just were a family caravan to support Esteban Ocon's career. So he is somebody. He is not a. He is now a millionaire from being a driver, but he doesn't come from wealth like most of the people on the grid.
Who's he running for? Renault, Alpine.
Yeah, Alpine Racing. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He's French, so this is like a French team with a French driver and a French engine win a race. So, and then Hamilton ended up getting in third place. Although it like almost destroyed him because he was incredibly exhausted.
Didn't he come back 14th to that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But like he almost like passed out on the podium. Like when he was so exhausted he like went to bend over to pick up the champagne, and he basically like started blacking out. And then like he was like on the podium, he was like barely shaking it. He was like, yeah, he was in rough shape. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but like that place is hot, and I know the Mercedes is not meant to run behind other cars, so that probably made it extra hot. And then some people are saying like there's kind of like might be lingering COVID effects, but that's just speculation.
Did he have that?
Yep, he got COVID because remember George Russell got that Mercedes.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
And then when he came back for the next race, the Abu Dhabi race, he didn't really do that well. I mean, he already won the championship, so he didn't have to. But like it did seem to affect him in some way. But yeah, he was really exhausted. And he had the weird thing where like all the drivers at the end of the race, they pulled off to the side of the road, and then so Sebastian Vettel and Esteban Ocon have to like run to the podium celebration. They just abandoned their cars on the track. So it was like this weird thing where like these guys running back to the podium. And so one of the reasons they pulled the car over is, so the speculation is like everybody like short fueled their car. So the reason you would do that is because in a wet race you don't drive as fast, so you use less fuel. So if they're expecting like, oh, this is going to be a wet race, we're going to put less fuel in the car. Also, if you expect wrecks to happen, you're going to be behind the safety car. And if you're behind the safety car, you're using less fuel. So a lot of people, to ensure that they have enough fuel, they just pull the car over at the end of the race, and then it'll be retrieved later. And then later on, Sebastian Vettel is disqualified from the race because they were not able to extract a liter of fuel from the car.
Yeah, when was that announced? Like, because I watched the race like Sunday, and then like Monday I was hearing about that.
Yeah, I mean, it was announced later that day, but I know Aston Martin put up some sort of like, they wanted to, what do you call that? you want to go against that. They wanted to appeal the
Yeah.
ruling. And so they're still appealing the ruling. I think the car has been impounded, and but like the thing is, like, they can possibly extract a liter of fuel from the car, but one of the things that you're not allowed to do, like, you can like shake the car and stuff, but you can't like literally like turn the car upside down to get the fuel out of it. There's like a specific way to get fuel out of the car, and you're not allowed to do like a bunch of tricks to get fuel out of the car, because it is possible the fuel could be in there, but they said they had like a bad pump or something like that, but it's probably not going to get reversed. But so it was sad for Sebastian Vettel to not get that win, or that second place, because his second podium, but because he had a hard fought race. Also, that throws Lewis Hamilton into second place. Max Verstappen finished in 10th place, so that was surprising. And probably the most surprising, double points for Williams. 2 years with no points, and now they have 10 points, which puts them ahead of Haas and Alfa Romeo. And those points are worth literally millions of dollars.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was But yeah, it's they're now on their summer break, so it's 4 weeks till the next race, which will be at the Belgium Grand Prix at Spa, which is one of my favorites.
Are they going to have that one in America this year, or has that been canceled?
No, they still have the one at the Circuit of the Americas. It's planned.
Oh, because I heard why. The reason I asked, because I saw on TV that the Circuit of the Americas is closed for 90 days.
Oh,
because they, COVID or whatever. Because that's in Florida, right?
No, it's in Texas.
Or Texas. Okay, yeah, but it's in one of those epicenter states.
Okay, yeah, it's in Austin.
Okay. I just saw that in passing on the news. It's like, well, they might not be having the.
I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Because they were planning, because they had because like the Canadian Grand Prix got canceled and some other ones, so there might be 2 American Grand Prix this year, but they haven't figured that out. But now there might be none. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, I knew it was in one of those southern states where there's like 100,000 cases an hour or something. So,
yeah.
Or whatever it is.
Anyways, that's the F1 update. What a weird, wacky race. It was really fun to watch. So check it out.
Yeah, it was interesting. The first 2 laps was like, oh, okay, they've just knocked a bunch of people out who were probably, vying for 2nd, 3rd, 4th place. They've all just been eliminated.
Yeah, and it changes.
The Red Bull Mercedes feud is not going to get any better because of this.
Yeah. The championship is completely turned around now. So Lewis Hamilton is out front again, and then I believe Mercedes is also out front in the constructors.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're ahead on constructors' points now.
So everything's completely turned around, and also like that weekend, those Mercedes looking really good on a track that should probably favor Red Bull. So Mercedes did something. Well, yeah, they crashed the competition. That's what they did.
That's what they did. The guy, the second driver, it was team rules.
Totally,
track.
Yeah, he totally did that on purpose. Yep.
Oh yeah,
right. Now we're in silly season.
Yeah.
Because like the summer breaks sometimes that's where you can see like driver changes. So there's a lot of speculation about like, will they because Bottas is going to get a 5-place grid penalty for the next race for causing the wreck. And so people are like, are they going to bring George Russell up? And he had that one radio call that George Russell put out where he was like, prioritize Nikki. If you have to compromise my race, go ahead and do it. And it was kind of like one of those like, it's like, oh, he's a team player, but also it's like that was performative bullshit. But George Russell seems to be like a fairly good kid, but that was totally like some that wasn't a message for for the team. That was a message for the world. Look at me, I'm a team player.
Be sure to broadcast us out on a live channel.
But I expect them to keep Bottas the rest of the season because that's just because that'll be better for Lewis Hamilton because Lewis Hamilton really likes Bottas. He doesn't rock the boat, so
Yeah, he seems like a pretty level-headed guy for a race car driver.
yeah. All those Finns, it's him and Kimi Räikkönen, the man of no charisma. Actually, Kimi Räikkönen has this really stealth charisma, but like he hates doing like interviews and stuff like that. He's absolutely hates that stuff.
Yeah, it's the coach of the Patriots, Belichick. That's always here's Bill Belichick happy. Here's Bill Belichick angry, and it's like the same picture. He just has no. Well, he also doesn't like the press. So whenever they try to like ask him a question, he's like, "Are you stupid?" Next question.
Well, they had a fun thing where they were doing it. Every once in a while, the F1 YouTube channel will have like these games they'll play with the drivers to see like who is best with like F1 history, who knows the most knowledge. And there was a funny thing with Kimi Räikkönen where it's like they're like, "Oh, just go till you get it wrong." He's like, "Well, you should have told me that because I just would have got it wrong in the first place."
Yeah. And the first question is like, "Oh, I guess I don't have to do this anymore."
So they had the drivers recite every driver champion that they could in order from most recent to the latest. Daniel Ricciardo did pretty good. Max Verstappen did really good. I think he got to like 80 or something like that. He got like 39 of them right. And then of course, fucking Sebastian Vettel, he names correctly all 72 championships that there ever been in F1.
A student of the game.
It's also funny when he's like going through the list and he's like, me for 2012, 2011, 2010, 2013. And there's the 70 ones that are crazy because it's like usually somebody will have like a spurt of like they'll win for a couple of years in a row and like maybe they'll get one like a couple of years after in between. But there's like one where it's like a guy like Jody Scheckter or something like that. He like over like a 20-year period he just win once every 3 years. It's like, who does that?
Yeah.
Apparently this guy.
Up.
All right. We were going to go to standby, and I will call you guys back.
All right.
Where's the standby? There's the standby screen. Okay. Now we're just me. Well, I guess Andrew's there. Start an instant meeting. Yeah, it's...
Laura.
back from the standby screen. And we're back.
All right. So we watched a movie this week. Are we done with Formula One?
Yeah.
Okay. So we watched a movie this week. It's the Cotton Comes to Harlem, which was not a movie I'd ever seen before.
Nope.
And it was kind of cool, and it's like 1970s ridiculousness.
Yeah.
Directed by Ossie Davis, written by Ossie Davis, based on a book of the same name. And had some.
This is like the New York you like to see, the grimy New York. Or specifically you, Nathan. Like you like these movies.
Yeah, I like the dirty New York.
Like it's like this and like Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3 and stuff like that.
Yep. Like New York was just a hellscape to live in.
Oh, it was some trivia that I read. I heard that like the Harlem was incredibly violent in this year, and this is actually put a positive spin on Harlem.
Yeah, it wasn't like Beirut or something. Or walking around and doing things, normal things sometimes.
And for a movie called Cotton Comes to Harlem, I just immediately assume that there's some character named Cotton, and he comes to Harlem. It's like, that's absolutely not.
This is a reference to slavery and cotton and
yeah.
All kinds of mixed messages. But yeah, I thought it was going to be someone's name.
But the reason I picked this is on one of the neo noir list on Criterion Collection, and this is probably the one that's like they kind of say it's a blaxploitation movie, but not necessarily. It's like, but they say like this is like a progenitor for the buddy cop genre.
Yes.
And so like I found that interesting. It's like, oh really? Oh okay. Because this is 1970 when this comes out. Also, like I was like, and also people saying like this is the first blaxploitation movie, and I was looking up because I always thought like I always hear that like it was like Sweetback's badass song but that one came out in 71, and even like the Dolomite movie that came out in 74. So yeah, this preceded all that.
Yeah, this was way before that, and kind of almost in a different genre where it was. Because this was sort of a buddy cop comedy / serious movie. Yeah.
So yeah, the movie is kind of like all over the place and like what it's trying to do. But I think this is like my take on it is that like, this is like a predominantly black production. Yeah. And this they're probably thinking like, this is the only shot we're going to have. So they want to show off every talent they have. It's like, look, we can do comedy, we can do drama, we can do social satire, we can do action, we can have sex scenes or whatever. It's like, look, we can do it all. So I think that's might be the reason the movie is the way it is.
Yeah, it's kind of, it tries to be a lot of things at once. But we'll say like the two main actors in it hold it together pretty well.
Yeah.
And they have great names. One guy's Gravedigger Jones and the other guy's Coffin Ed Johnson. They're Harlem detectives, and it's like, oh yeah, that's like right on the nose.
Yeah.
And they have like shyster preachers and
the movie starts out with like this guy's like trying to sell people like we're gonna build a boat and go back to Africa, and he's basically like, collecting people's money. And then they're immediately robbed, and then it's like speculated. It's like, did this guy rob this himself? And then that's where the whole mystery kicks in. That's why this is like a neo-noir movie, because it's like, here's the mystery, and then like it spends the whole movie unraveling it.
Yes. Yeah, and after a crazed robbery, shootout, and car chase scene, where people are just spraying bullets all over New York.
And you think like, and then like some parties where you think like, wait, why are they shooting at the cops? Like, aren't the cops like technically on their side at this instance? But then you figure out like, oh, well, no.
Not really. Only tangentially.
Yeah. I also got like weird, like the Warrior vibes from like the opening of this movie. Like I could see the Warrior in this in some ways.
Yes.
I don't know if the Warriors takes anything from this movie, but I just saw that and it precedes it. So
It's people in New York dressed in matching outfits. As a group that will fight another group is like, yeah, that kind of.
Well, and you have like the preacher out front who's like seeming to gather people together, although he does it for nefarious reason. For like the guy in the Warriors is like legitimately trying to unite all the gangs, and then he's murdered for it. So.
Yeah. Yes, and this because the preacher's selling. They're going to buy this boat and go back to Africa. By the way, the model of that boat, I don't know if anyone noticed the humor in that, was a model of the Titanic painted black.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, it was like, if you look closely, it's like, oh, that's a model of the Titanic. Like, and I know that was put in there as a message. But yeah.
Which I've this is like a history thing I did like when I was a child, so I only vaguely remember it, but I think this is kind of based on Marcus Garvey. Do you know who that is?
Why have I heard that name? Explain it.
I can't remember if he was a slave or not, but like he was a black entrepreneur, and then at some point he had like a ship line, and like he would basically like bring black people back to Africa. I think it was called White Star Lines, or was that the actual Titanic? Okay, he has, or maybe it was Black Star Lines. He has a Star Line. He owns a shipping company at some point, and he did bring people back to Africa if they wanted. Marcus Garvey is a really interesting guy, which they do mention it like at some point. He said I could be the next Malcolm or the next King or the next Garvey. So he is like that is. In this instance they consider Garvey among the historical black leaders in America. So,
oh yeah, he was born in. I looked him up while you were talking. He's from Jamaica.
Oh, okay.
He was around from 1887 to 1940, and he was a part of the Back to Africa movement. He had a relationship with the Ku Klux Klan because he believed in black separatism as much as they believed in black separatism, which is like, that's an interesting hands across the aisle moment. Not really. I'm just skimming over it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this was an actual idea.
Yeah.
That was floating around. This movie has one of the greatest posters I've ever seen. Did you see the poster for the movie?
I'm not sure. Was it like on just like, was it like the cover image on the Criterion Collection thing?
No, that was more serious. This was like, it's got a gold Rolls Royce, someone holding a huge revolver, and a bunch of scantily clad women like dancing. It's like, but it looks really cool. It's just totally 70s vibe.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. This movie was a big success. One of the most successful black made, produced, and distributed movies ever. Cost $1.2 to make, and made about $7 million overall just in theaters in New York, Detroit, Chicago. It lists all the places. It was like #1 for weeks.
Yeah. It was kind of like a midnight movie before midnight movies. So.
Yeah.
Andrew, what are your immediate takes? Do you regret watching Cotton Comes to Harlem?
Yes, I do. It was a horrible movie.
Oh, okay.
I hated every second of it. I probably literally fell asleep halfway through it and probably woke up in the last like 10 minutes. So I mean, it's just like I read the synopsis to try and fill in the blanks where I fell asleep at, and that was putting me to sleep. So I don't like this movie. It is a shitty movie, and I regret watching it.
Nothing out of it.
Nope, nothing out of it at all. Yes, it might be a first buddy cop movie, I guess, or whatever. But I mean, like, characters are fine, like the names are cool, but it's like I don't really care about some cotton bale coming through Harlem and shit. And, like, yeah, the preacher ripping off people's fine, but like his side bitch is.
You didn't like Red Skelton? You didn't like half the cast of Sanford the Son being in this movie?
Yeah.
I identified that. I was like, oh yeah, okay. I haven't seen him in our movie obviously for a while.
Red Fox. Did I say Red Skelton?
Yeah,
No.
yeah, either Red Fox. Yeah. No, I mean, like, I knew who was in the movie. I didn't know who directed it until I was reading more about it. But at the same time, it was like, oh, okay, this is, he had directed a couple movies before this and done well. And this, I think it said it made like $2 million on a $1 million budget or something like that. I can't remember what the budget was. The shootout was kind of cool. Like, I don't get like the stockings over the head or whatever. Like, that was kind of weird. I don't know. Like, it just has like all the problems of like a 70s movie for me, and that's probably why I hate it so much. It's just like, I mean, I don't like 70s movies. I don't like Dolomite. I fucking hated. Like, I watched that movie from Eddie Murphy, like talking about that guy, and I was like, oh yeah, this guy sounds awesome. This guy sounds like he really knew what he was doing. And I watched the actual movie. It's the worst fucking movie I've ever seen. It's like, I know why critics hated it, because it was a pile of shit. It was, as much as you spin it, there was like a National Lampoon of its day, or like fucking making fun of shit. It was just a shitty movie. And the acting is definitely good in this movie, but at the same time, I just don't like 70s movies. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a thing. I mean, as a noir film for Criterion, I thought it was an interesting pick because it wasn't overwhelmingly dark, but the social issues in it were, it was like, it was sad. It was going to rip these people off, and then we're going to come up with an elaborate way. And really, in the end, we're going to rip off the mob, but the guy who ultimately wins is, Red Fox is Uncle Bud.
I did like that the homeless guy wins, or basically the guy with like $20 to his name, because he's like begging and is like, please, it's like, I don't have $100 to buy my parcel of land in Africa. I'll do it for $20, and the Reverend's like, okay, and it's like, yeah, because he's just taking his $20. He doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, that was very telling in the beginning. It's like, well, these people are just getting scammed out of their money.
Yeah. Well, because like his whole speech and shit like that, and where he's talking about the white man and all this other shit, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that was very 70s, but at the same time, is like, I don't know how much, because you're talking about like how Harlem was pretty bad violence wise this time, actually worse than the movie was, which is surprising. that's pretty cool, but sad at the same time.
The car chases and the violence in this made Harlem look good. Like, yeah, I could go to Harlem.
And the fact that everyone's some kind of low-level criminal and stuff, it wasn't.
I probably should rewatch some of the movie that I fell asleep on. Maybe it would make it more fun for me.
I think that's most captivating when the two cops, when it's Gravedigger and Coffin on screen. Like, I just enjoy them because like Gravedigger is like, he's like the funny, sarcastic guy, and then like Coffin is just really serious, and it's a good juxtaposition. Also, like, everyone they just call Gravedigger Digger, which, like, every time they say Digger, I'm like, Brave is like, was this racism? I'm like, oh, he's okay, never mind.
Well, I mean, I wish that would have centered on them the whole time, because I did like those characters.
Well, there's like that scene where like the cop is watching the Reverend's wife, and then there's like, and then she's calling him the homophobic slurs to try to get him to like sleep with her so she can pull one over on him. And it's like, why is this scene in the movie? It's like, just to see her naked. So
yeah. That was, well, you got to remember the chains were kind of off in the 70s. There was a lot of naked stuff and swearing and a lot of 70 movies are over the top with sex and swearing, because it was like, well, we can actually do this now and make money on the movie. Yeah,
because like that was in the Dolomite, like when we watched the Eddie Murphy one. That's the making of, like, he's like, who doesn't want to see titties? It's like, we need titties in this movie. And even even like when you get to like that stage before, that very weird interpretive dance thing where it's like you get the whole explanation of like what Cotton Comes to Harlem means, and then there's like it's like families watching this lady strip and rip apart a bale of cotton, and then it's like, oh, this is interpretation about slavery, and like how like, oh, we escaped slavery, we went to Harlem, we want to change things, but now it's coming back to Harlem and people want to enslave us again, and then like we're trying to get rid of that, and I'm probably missing a ton of social commentary there. There's probably way more than what I'm interpreting it, but that's
straightforward, because you have like the mob guy in blackface.
Jesus Christ!
And it's like, oh, okay, we're just throwing it all at the screen here. But yeah, it was. I mean, you're talking about filmmaking essentially from the 60s into the 70s. So
yeah. I mean, this is released in the 70s, so it's probably produced in 69. So
yeah.
Well, no, it was just something where that was another part that kind of made me uncomfortable with the movie. I have no idea. There's some stuff that was definitely had a deeper meaning that I wasn't seeing because I'm a white guy from the 2000s. So there's some stuff I'm probably going over my head or not noticing.
I'm not going to give this movie any credit for subtlety. It was offering social satire, but it was throwing it at you. It was very clear, like what they were saying. But this stuff was not represented in any movie at that time either. Like if you wanted to see this on film, you went and saw this movie because they weren't doing movies. I mean, you're not going to see this in like Rosemary's Baby or something. So this
You should see this movie.
It would be weird if they did. They just right in the middle had like some exposition, like dance on slavery, and it was like, what the hell? Is this what Satan really is about? I don't know.
No,
and there was some kind of commentary about like how like Gravedigger and Coffin. Oh God, I hope I'm not fucking that up. Have to like basically. Okay, good. How they have to like they can't just uphold the law. Like they're black cops in Harlem. They have to keep peace in a different way. They just can't uphold the law because that's not going to benefit the black people.
Well, that's what the one guy said, like when they were walking into that back room to shake down that guy about where's this money at? The different people they're going to. It's like we got to save Harlem from the criminals, and we got to save the black people from themselves. Like one of the main characters said that. It's like, yeah, that's our problem with being cops here. Is like we're playing for two different teams, two different sets of rules, but then
and Coffin's like biggest problem with the Reverend is like, hey, you can steal from white people all you want, but you stole from black people, and I can't have
four black people in Harlem.
Yes.
So yeah, that was.
And I love when he beats the crap out of the Reverend and he goes back on the stage. They have that 70s red blood where it's just like super red, like yes.
High fidelity red blood.
They don't have blood like that anymore.
And the crowd's just sitting there because Coffin goes back on stage and Gravedigger's over there with a sawn-off shotgun over his arm, and the crowd's just like, well, this is crazy.
I hope this is part of the show.
Yeah, that looks like a real gun. Yeah. So it was kind of a cool movie. I call these like time capsule movies.
Yeah.
It's like this is a time and a place.
Yeah.
And this was getting a message out, putting it in big lights. Like I said, when you're just throwing stuff at the screen as big as this, it's like, oh, you're not being subtle in your message, but you're trying to get through to an audience that's like, hey, pay attention. You don't get to see this all the time.
Yeah.
Because the next movie's like, Dirty Harry or something. It's a whole different movie.
Yeah, I never knew this movie existed, and like so it was pretty interesting to watch it, and just for the historical context of, well, now I know it exists and like where it existed between things. So
yeah.
No, I mean, I think my Achilles heel of watching older movies, like obviously like The Shining and Aliens and French Connection are all 70s movies, and something like I like those movies and they're not bad movies. Just I don't have a tolerance for watching older movies really. Like maybe 80s.
You know, like the part when Coffin is punching the guy and they just cut to a mannequin being flung into the air.
No, that was kind of like I appreciated the weird fighting style of like, hey, we're just gonna shove these guys back and teach a guy lessons by throwing them in the air and making them land, and then cohorts catch him and shit. That was kind of just weird and jarring.
I was ready for one of those whistle effects. That I was like, what? Okay, because at first I thought this was satire.
Yeah.
Until the robbery happened, it's like, oh no, they're going for like a genuinely violent action scene.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, and I mean there's parts like that in this movie that just kill it for me because it's like, god damn it! Like if it's gonna be funny, then be funny. If it's gonna be serious, be serious. I don't have a Matt's appreciation of like bad parts in movies where it's like, oh, look at all the trouble they went through to do this, and that's kind of funny or whatever. I'm just like, nope, it looks like shit. Move on to the next scene.
Yeah. I mean, this is very scattershot. That is like the downside of this movie is it doesn't pick a lane. It tries to be everything, but I don't think it necessarily like hurts it necessarily when it does that. I think it does it okay. Because like I said, it's like this might be the only shot we got. Like let's put all our talents out there.
No, I think both lead actors are good. I kind of wanted to see if they were in anything else after this. I'm assuming they probably were.
They tried to do like follow ups to this
It is
movie,
a
and
sequel, I think.
yeah, but it was like a different director and writer.
Yeah, because Ossie Davis directed this
Yeah.
and wrote it, and he's very famous. You know him from all kinds of stuff.
Because like I didn't immediately recognize it, but once you see a picture of him, it's like, oh, that guy. He's in hundreds of things.
Yes, character actor and he did these movies and a couple movies. And one of these guys, I think it was the guy who played Coffin. I think he was in some Twilight Zone episodes or something. He seemed to remind me of, kind of coming from that act. I can't. Let's see. I see his movie references here. His last movie was in 1975, but some of the filmography gets really spotty.
But also, he's a black actor in the 70s, so he's probably not getting too many shots at stuff. So
Yeah, that's true. Trying to find his TV credits. It's just filmography. Okay, maybe I was wrong. Or maybe it's just not listed, one of the two. Both these guys died fairly young, so.
Yeah.
I know the one lady who like got naked, like she had a pretty long career. I think she's still alive.
Pace?
Yeah.
She's 79. Wow.
She played Iris, I think, is her character.
Yeah. Yeah, Iris Brown. Name of the character. Yeah, overall, it's as part of the noir series. At first, I was sort of like, "Wait, is this a comedy? This is weird." And
this one's probably like the most outside one of the neo noir set they have. Like this, so that's kind of why I picked it. It's like this intrigues me. Like, why would they put this in here? And it does deserve it because like the mystery itself is interesting, but it's also just like trying to be a lot of different things. Like it's probably the only one that you would consider a comedy amongst all those films. So,
well, most of the comedy comes from Coffin because he has that. He does that. What's that other actor I like? The other Bokeem Woodbine. He has that like eternal smirk.
Yeah,
where he's kind of looking out of the side of his eye, like, "Why are you being so serious?" He does mass, like even in the car chase when he's driving, he's like, "Why are you being so serious? We're just driving through the streets at high speed in really weird cars in an old Hearst, a gold painted van, and just like a Plymouth Valiant police car." So yeah, that was a lot of the stuff. He was like the comic relief for the seriousness of Coffin of Gravedigger as being more of the like, we got to stop crime. He was
Coffin's a serious one. Gravedigger is the the wacky one.
I'm mixing them up, but yeah,
like the suit that he has. There's like I forget. There's a Wesley Snipes movie that basically like Wesley Snipes looks exactly like Gravedigger. It might be Boiling Point. I'm not sure. It might be the covering of Boiling Point. He looks like him, but I think that's a Wesley Snipes movie.
Probably. Where's he been?
Jail and the Dolomite movie.
The tax stuff is over. I thought he'd be out.
Yeah, he's out now. Yeah.
Where's Blade 4? I rewatched Blade a couple weeks ago. I was like, what a great movie.
Yeah.
How did they fuck this up?
I don't know. 2's good, and I didn't hate 3, but a lot of people seem to hate 3. So
2 was good, but
that was the world's introduction to Guillermo del Toro. So that was more what we get out of 2.
What I get out of 2 was Ron Perlman. It's like a highlight. He does such a great job in almost everything. Did you ever watch him in those not preacher, but where he's like the Reverend? It was a show on Amazon.
No.
Oh yeah, those are really good. I mean, that's like just crazy Perlman acting. Like, he's like this presence that you almost don't want to see.
Well, I said Steven Sleepwalkers a couple weeks ago when I watched that movie again, and that was entertaining to see him play an asshole. Other
Wasn't he
than
like
that,
the sheriff or whatever?
yeah, he was like.
I'm not
county
taking your
sheriff.
shit, and then he gets killed by one of those vampire cat people or whatever.
Yeah, I guess his like arm broken in a different direction from where it going, and then like his fingers bitten off or whatever. And I think he's either alive or really fucked up. I don't know. I don't think he's dead. Because one of those like '80s cheese they have moments where it's like one revolver shot at the cop car makes it explode, and everybody behind it dies. It was like, yeah, if that really worked.
Yeah, I love the exploding cars of the 80s. They don't really do that anymore. Unless there's a reason, like there's a bomb in it. But it used to be like if you fired a gun in the general direction of a car, it exploded like violently.
Now I'm just reminded of the Grosjean crash.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, these cars can't blow up. Like, what the fuck is that? Why did a movie explosion happen on an F1 track?
Hand of God is the story I'm talking about.
Oh, that's the show.
He's actually a judge, not a preacher. He's a judge.
Oh, okay.
But God has made him into a vigilante instead of a crooked judge. But it's not like an amazing show, but he's really good in it.
Yeah.
So I don't know how we got onto Ron Perlman, but there it is.
You said you watched Blade. We're talking
Yeah,
about Wesley Snipes. Because they're like, well, what's Wesley Snipes doing? I mean, well, I saw him in that Dolomite movie. Like, I mean, I think he's like 50 or something, and like, he still looks really good. He looks like Wesley Snipes.
Well, I mean, yeah, that,
Wesley Snipes is almost 60 now. Oh my God. I guess
well, yeah, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Andrew.
No, I said he had that cameo on What We Do in the Shadows, like the first season for like an episode.
Oh,
Because he was like on the iPad, like chatting with the Vampire Council's Blade. So I don't really. Yeah, what is he doing now besides dodging the IRS? Probably still.
Well, he was in the Coming to America sequel.
oh, that's right.
He seems to be
God.
working with Eddie Murphy on things. I think the best meme I ever saw was like the end of Twilight We Wanted, where it's the two people from Twilight and it's Blade standing in the background. I was like, yeah, kind of. Yeah. Never got into that.
Oh, the only way I could watch those movies was with the riff tracks.
Yeah.
Those riff tracks are brilliant, but that's the only way I can. Actually, there's like, I think it's like the third one. There's like the guy who is it 28 Days a Night, that one vampire movie? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
So that guy directed one of the Twilight movies, and it's
Oh,
probably
did he?
it's probably the best one. It's where
Okay.
it's when they have like a big fight between vampires and werewolves. That movie is like, actually, it was like, this isn't terrible. I mean, I still don't like it, but it's not terrible.
30 Days a Night is one of my favorite vampire movies. Because it's like, if vampires were real, it would be something like that. They're just almost animals. Like,
Yeah.
they're not charming or fun. Or they're just horrible creatures that would attack Barrow, Alaska, because the sun hasn't come up there for a long time. And and they got all the characters that live there, right? It's like, yeah, these are the kind of people that would live in a place like Barrow, Alaska. Benicio del Toro and the guy who played the sheriff's deputy. What's his name? Josh Hartnett.
Yep.
It was
Yeah.
a really good cast, but yeah, good movie.
I was really mad today because my wife was watching this YouTube video where it was talking about like upcoming movies that might be saved by an actor. And I had the Uncharted movie when it was first and I was casting a couple of years ago. It had Mark Wahlberg as Sully. And I was like, oh, that's definitely changed by now. He couldn't play that fucking character if he tried. And it was like, nope, it's shot. The whole movie was him as Sully. And it's like, God fucking damn
Yep.
it.
Yeah, it's him
It's gonna
and him and Tom Holland.
Yep. And I was like, son of a fucking bitch. It's going to be Sully.
I
So,
think at some point they were entertaining like that. Bruce Campbell would be Sully because he would make a good Sully, but
yeah, I think it's just something. I know it was supposed to be him being younger. I don't know how old's Nathan Drake when the series ends? Like probably in his mid-30s.
yeah, probably.
Right,
But
so,
this
I
is
mean,
this is like supposed to be origin story. So, although
Yeah.
I remember at one point Mark Wahlberg was supposed to be Nathan Drake.
Yeah, I'm not really happy with that either. But at least his voice maybe matched better. Because I was talking to my wife, and I was like, if Sully was just a Boston guy doing this shit, it probably makes sense. But unfortunately, since Mark Wahlberg can't play anybody besides a Boston native, it's kind of fucking hard to have range. Like,
yeah, I always saw like Sully as like some like New Yorker guy, but or New Jersey maybe, like vaguely mob boss, but he drives a plane. But it's now it's gonna be a Boston guy who chomps on a cigar.
and wears Havana shirts that don't look like he wears them, because that's like Sully's main thing is he wears like tropical shirts all the time.
I mean, it's Mark Wahlberg. He's got to be like shirtless in that movie at some point, right? Like which is absolutely not that character, but whatever.
The scene where Sully grooms Nathan.
Although, I mean, have you like the Action Boys always talk about like Mark Wahlberg's like acting process, which seems to be very slight. It's like, I'm available and I'm fit. It's like that's his acting process. He's good in things, but he doesn't have range.
Well, you remember my joke when we were talking about this Kubrick movies was they should do a shot-for-shot remake of Barry Lyndon with Donnie Wahlberg, just doing Donnie Wahlberg but as Barry Lyndon, but everyone else acting. So that would be the coolest thing ever, because we were saying it would be like that Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, where you take an actual book from that period and you throw bullshit, and it's like, yeah, Donnie Wahlberg is Barry Lyndon. Why not?
But
I kind of wish the whole Wahlberg family would just make burgers and sell body supplements and be done with acting, but that's never going to happen.
But no, like they talk about Mark Wahlberg's acting process is basically like, yeah, I think this guy works out 4 hours a day. Like that's that's his acting process. It's like, I think this guy's like me.
Didn't you see his daily routine? It was like a GQ video or some shit like a year or two ago.
Yeah. Or he wakes up at like 3 a.m. and starts doing workouts.
And then works out for like 4 or 5 hours and golfs or some fucking shit.
And somewhere commit a hate crime against an Asian person.
He's the normal everyday American hero. He owns multi-million-dollar mansions, and most of his day consists of working out and praying and committing hate crime against Asian people somewhere.
Oh, is he one of the prayer guys?
Yeah, he literally has a slot for like half an hour, an hour. I can't remember how long it is for prayer every day. Wow. And my wife was talking about how he was supposed to be in Brokeback Mountain and he didn't want to do it because he didn't want to do any gay shit. And it was like, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
I can picture Mark Wahlberg as a Boston, Montana cowboy. Having a gay romantic relationship with one of the two lead actors is left.
He just spends the whole movie carrying a basketball.
I don't know. Noma Garcia-Paolo wouldn't like this. Sheep out here.
He's bouncing the basketball while riding a horse. Boom, boom.
I mean, like
nobody's better than Larry Bird, right, Jake?
That Tom Brady. What?
I don't know how to do a Boston accent. It's probably just a whole mix of New Jersey and New York.
Yeah, it's all East Coast mash. It's just when you hear people talking like that.
That's why Andrew says no more Garcia Parra, because that's his like clue into the Boston accent. No more Garcia Parra.
No more Garcia Parra in the car park sucking dick. $5 below. No.
Now you started to sound. Well, I guess that's actually close. You started to sound like JFK as Mark Wahlberg.
That's the role he was born to play. I guess I didn't know because it was talking about Kennedy this week.
And we are all mortal.
I didn't know Kennedy's back was so fucked up. He had to wear a back brace most of the time. So that's why they said he kept to stay propped up when he got shot the first time, is because he couldn't fucking bend over because of his back brace.
Yeah, the turtle shell.
Oh, okay.
Because what was it from? Was that from the World War II stuff?
Maybe.
Possibly.
So anyway, he had Addison's disease, but he also got fucked up when his boat got sunk. Like he took a lot of damage from that because he got caught in the explosion. Yeah.
Because he fucked a lot of whores.
Yeah, that was it.
That's why his back's bad. He fucked a lot of whores.
I fucked too many dead hookers.
Sorry.
That's a reference you won't get. And the unproduced Jimmy and Nixon show, we always had JFK pop up, and he's always talking about dead hookers for some reason.
Yeah.
And I love that we had Jimmy Stewart and Richard Nixon as our main characters, and because those were accents I could do. But actually, I also like my Jimmy Stewart turns into Don Knotts like really quickly. But we have both characters always talk in first person, so even if you screw up the accent, you know.
They will remind you who they are. Who is this? Oh yeah, he's talking to himself like he's a boxer.
Well, Jimmy Stewart. Nixon wouldn't do that. Well, Jimmy Stewart says, "Fuck you, Nixon."
I guess people are excited about Indiana Jones 5 now because of the casting of what's her name? The female lead that's supposed to be the protege for Indiana Jones. Now I just watched a video about that because I guess people are now hyped about Indiana Jones 5 again, which I don't know why they would ever be.
Well, isn't Spielberg not directing it?
No, he's not directing it. No.
Okay.
Hey, one of those Venom movies, because I watched the new
Okay.
Venom.
Okay. I listened to a whole podcast because basically when I first saw the Venom trailer, I was like, that looks okay, and then I heard bad reviews about it. But this whole movie has a second life where it's like, no, this is not the action evil Spider-Man you're expecting. This is a very weird Odd Couple superhero movie where it's basically what's his name?
Hardy.
Tom Hardy is basically, because he also does the voice of Venom, he's basically in an Odd Couple relationship with Venom, and he's just trying to keep Venom from destroying things, and it's this weird comedy. And I hear they're just doing now they have a weird fan base, and they're just for this new one they're just going full into that. So I think the first movie is a bit awkward, but there's something there. And for this movie, they're taking the core that people liked out of the first movie and just going full blast with this one. So
because I've never seen the first one, but seeing the trailer for the second one is I should watch the first one.
Yeah,
this is cool.
But yeah, I didn't realize I had a fan base, and I have not watched it yet. But that's what the prep I was given is that. It's not a superhero movie. It's an Odd Couple movie that happens to take place in a superhero universe.
Yeah, because I actually bought it for $8 on sale because nobody wanted it. It's actually better than you think it would be. The villain's pretty crap, but the rest of the movie's pretty. I mean, because it's supposedly Woody Harrelson's supposed to be pretty fucking amazing in the next movie as far as doing a lot of the work to make that a good movie. But I mean, I don't. It's not out for a little while longer, so I don't know how many people have actually seen it. But I mean, yeah, I was really interested with Woody Harrelson as Carnage because it might be really good since he's a pretty good actor and has a lot of range.
I'm just looking for something for me and my son to watch because we, just besides watching Ad Astra over and over again, it's we need to expand our horizons.
Watch the Suicide Squad.
Oh, I've already watched that today.
Oh, okay. We can talk about that if you want.
Yeah,
it was great. What a fucking weird evil movie. Oh man, that scene where they're having the who can kill stuff the best fastest pissing contest between Bloodshot and Peacemaker, and then at the end it's revealed they just killed a bunch of good guys. That's hilarious.
Rebels, but they killed them in horrible ways, fire and compression bullets, and it's well, those people were the fighters. Why didn't any of my people alert me that you were here? It's
and also this movie, because a lot of people are mixed on John Cena's his acting abilities. This 100% plays to his strengths. This is his best movie he's been. Because I watched F9 where he has to be this serious brooding character who's a heavy against Vin Diesel. Not great. But here he is absolutely great. You know how Bruce Willis always wants to do a comedy action movie, but he's never good at it? John Cena is what Bruce Willis wish he could be as an actor. Okay. Now, on the flip side, John Cena wishes he could do the drama that Bruce Willis can, but he absolutely can't.
No, I mean everybody is really good in this movie, and they give all the characters proper time, and they flesh out the story pretty well.
And they just get the whole premise right. Where it's like, okay, this is about like, because the whole idea, it's almost like practical why this whole series was created in the first place. Is like, well, we have all these like stupid villains hanging around that were technically never killed. Let's make a dirty dozen, and then they'll just start killing off all these characters so they're never used again. And then you have this weird dichotomy in the movie where it's like, okay, well, these guys are being put on a mission where they're probably going to die. They're basically failed bad guys. And this mission at some point will give them a catharsis where they're like, oh, like I'm a good person, or like I'm going to change the world, I'm going to do something. And then when they have that catharsis, they're immediately killed in some funny, violent way.
Yeah.
And Sylvester Stallone is a giant shark.
Yeah.
Okay, I was wondering who that was because like it had Sylvester Stallone as it. I'm like, who the fuck?
Yeah,
is this?
I got the whole movie. I was like, where was Sylvester Stallone? And it's like, oh, he played the shark.
Dude, I like that new dumb friends.
Yeah, it's like it's James Gunn. It's like, I need a Groot for this movie. Like, we'll just use King Shark. Although I hate because
I put on fake mustache.
he just has his finger up in front of his nose. Although I always wish like in the Harley Quinn animated series, King Shark is played by Ron Funches, and it is absolutely hilarious. So I'm kind of bummed that they didn't go that way, but it's fine. Because Ron Funches King Shark is like he's like a lot of self-doubt. He's like has this kind of like high-pitched voice, and he's like always kind of like helpful, and then just like extreme moments of violence where he's biting people in half and blood is spewing everywhere.
It was fun to see Peter Capaldi. As one of they never really had they never had a villain they had to face that was like that you knew wouldn't be defeated or destroyed very quickly. Even the giant starfish, it's like, well, they're going to figure something out pretty quick. But it was almost like a goof. Like the whole thing was just played as almost a goof.
Yeah, well, it's done with James Gunn's weirdness, and it really fits the whole Suicide Squad like theme. Like he said, he basically made this as like a 70s like Vietnam film. Like that's what he was going for. So
I can see that now that you say it.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of funny, like the starfish scene, like towards the end, where everybody's getting, latched onto, and they're like all the faces getting, and everybody's dead, and it's like everybody figured out, like, to cover your face, and all these people just seem like give up and run away. It's like, no, just put your helmet over your face, it'll be fine.
Or just put your hand there. Yeah. That seemed to work.
So I was like, oh, okay. It's like the general sitting there, like, oh my god, my empire's crumbled, and he just like gives up, and it's like, just put your hat over your face, stupid. Like, what the fuck? But no, it's like it's a pretty fucking amazing movie. Like considering how many people seemed to bash it before it came out and said it was going to be terrible again, and I don't know what they were basing that on.
I mean, the first movie, but like I wouldn't say the first movie's terrible. It just has a lot of structure problems to it. Like there's a good movie somewhere in the original Suicide Squad, and Will Smith is good in it, and Margot Robbie's good in it, and that's kind of what makes the movie. It was like the straight like first 15 minutes where it's like 8 music videos to introduce all the characters was not a great idea for that movie. And here they don't necessarily not do that, but they have a lot of time. It's almost like Tarantino-ized this movie where they jump around in time, and it ends up structurally working better for like creating mystery and stuff like that.
It's 2 movies in a row I watched, along with the Guy Ritchie movie, where they do weird stuff to like say 3 months later or 2 hours later, or name the characters and other stuff where there's just like scenery or credits and stuff like that. It was like, is that like a new thing now, or is it just like I mean, it's kind of a nice perspective, but it also makes it seem kind of dumbed down. Like the audiences can't figure out like, oh yeah, this is Suicide Squad, or this is 2 days later, or some kind of shit. Like,
I don't know. I always like the in Fringe where they just had like the titles hanging in the air, telling you exactly where they are, what's going on. This is
Yeah.
just like this is like a more like natural version of it. It's like we're saying 3 weeks later, but it's grown out of the environment. It's not just like letters magically hanging in the middle of the air.
It was good to see Idris Elba do something again.
Yeah.
Yep.
One of my favorite actors to watch. I don't know why.
It'd be interesting if they if they do another movie because so he was originally going to be a recast of Will Smith's character Deadshot, but they decided not to do that and they made a new character. So it's not like Will Smith's character's dead. He just scheduling conflicts. He couldn't do this movie, so his character's still around.
And the Weasel thing's still around.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. We've got to keep the child murdering weasel around.
Which I don't know anything about comic books, so is there a deeper story there, or is that just something weird they did for that?
Supposedly, like the origin of the comic books, like him and Polka Dot Man are kind of just jokes. Like apparently, the Weasel is like a professor at a university, but he's also a serial killer that uses that as a costume, which seems kind of weird considering how lifelike that thing seemed. But like Bloodsport's character that he gets signed on by Lex Luthor to kill Superman like the 90s or whatever. He's a Vietnam vet and like has all these guns and shit, and because they talk about like, oh yeah, the line where it's like, oh, he put Superman in ICU, the kryptonite bullet is kind of just blasé, and they don't talk about it anymore after that.
Oh, I love the one introduction when like she's like introducing blood sport, and he's like, his father raised him as a child to be a mercenary. He can kill anybody with anything. And when they're talking about Peacemaker, it's like his dad was a soldier. He raised him as a child. And he could kill anybody with anything. And Idris Elba's is like, I thought you said this was like a team put together with specific skills. And it's like, yeah. It's like, well, he's just me. He has the exact same skills I have. And then John Cena is like, yeah, but I do it better. That was hilarious.
And then seeing him alive at the end so he can have his HBO series or whatever, I guess in January next year.
Oh, is that it? Okay? Because I remember, because I've been hearing on Dave Meltzer's podcast, he was saying that he had a Marvel series he was shooting, but he must have mistaken that if they're going to do a Peacemaker series.
Yeah, I guess probably James Gunn's already got 8 episodes in the can for HBO for
Okay.
that series for next year. So it'll be interesting. I don't know what exact, because I mean they phrase it like, oh, he's going to save the world. So apparently it's going to be like episodic thing where he just goes and kills a bunch of people for peace.
Do they ever say like what he's in for, or did he just kill people for America and then he was found out to be wrong?
Maybe. I mean, there's that one nice clip where it's like he's got somebody in the office, like in his sights, is like, "I'm ready to take the shots," or whatever. Just somebody filing papers in an office or whatever. And it's just like, it seems like he's probably in jail for killing a bunch of innocent people he thought would save, secure peace, or eating a bunch of dicks on a beach. I don't know which one. We got
Like a guy who was like up for anything. He was kind of like a Judge Dredd character, like anything for whatever I uphold. It's like there's nothing that was off the table.
I like that he has like a 3-foot long Desert Eagle, and then he puts a silencer on it, and it's like 5 feet long.
Giant.
But he primarily uses blades the whole time, doesn't he? If I remember right, like he uses like swords and like.
Yeah, he has an axe. Which there's that one bit where they're killing people, and he like walks up. There's somebody like sleeping on a cot, and he's just like shink, 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 as he's walking. It's like that's awful and hilarious. It's like I think only John Cena could pull that off.
But I think it'll be really interesting to see John Cena in the miniseries. And maybe he isn't a Marvel thing too. I don't know. I mean, it seems like everybody can kind of cross without really pissing off anybody, because there's not people that are in this that were in Marvel properties before this. Because I guess like the Mantis ladies in like the dance room scene or whatever at the strip club and stuff like that. Like all the James Gunn crews there. The guy from FOMA's in the same scene, like dancing with somebody. And it was like, oh, I forgot that James Gunn got to start with FOMA Productions and stuff like that.
Yeah, now The Peacekeeper is a TV series on HBO Max, January 28th, 2022. It's near its end of production right now. Going to be 8 episodes, most of them directed and written by James Gunn. So it's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. Should be interesting.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, there couldn't be a better role for John Cena that just works so well, because it's hard to take him serious in serious roles, because he's just kind of, he has a charisma about him, and he's very good at doing humor, which makes him like, you don't believe him when he's serious. I don't, you saw that movie The Wall, wasn't he in that? But I know he gets shot like in the first 5 minutes, but
Yeah, he's in The Wall. He's in that, but he's also in the end of the movie too, because he's not really dead. Like
Okay.
he's kind of just like the big name draw, I think, because Aaron Taylor Johnson's the other lead.
yeah,
But yeah, it's not a bad performance, but he doesn't have a lot to it. So,
okay.
did you guys see the trailer for Vacation Friends with John Cena?
No.
I believe I did.
So it's like these honeymooners go on this honeymoon trip in like Central America or whatever, and they find these vacation friends, which is John Cena and his drunk like wife or whatever. And so they're walking on the beach, like, drunk as shit. And all of a sudden, like, John Cena, like, put this bottle on your head, and then he draws a gun real quick and shoots it off the guy's head, and his wife's like, "You hit him this time." Or whatever. And the other guy's like, "What? What did you say?" Or whatever. Like, that's a good scene. Like, that's kind of shit John Cena should do all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, he seems to be putting better films together with his film career. Like, I know it was more or less guest star stuff. Cockblocker seemed to be like his big like lead
Yeah,
break.
he does good in that Amy Schumer movie. He was good in that too. Like, he's good in comedy. It's just like, having seen F9, he's not great with serious stuff, because you don't. It's hard to watch him be serious. You don't believe
Well,
it.
considering it's Fast and the Furious, I guess I wouldn't take that too highly. But at the same time, the Rotten Tomatoes on that I was surprised by. I was like, 59%, huh? Like, that seems about right for a Fast and Furious movie nowadays.
Yeah, well, if you've watched all the Fast and Furious movies, like, it's fine. If you just hop in there, it's like, you're probably not gonna have a good time, because you kind of need the whole history. Because it's probably one of the lesser Fast and Furious movies, but like, as a crazy action movie, it's like, it's got all that stuff, the stupid shit with magnets where they seem to like work and not work all at the same time, just to do magic things, to fly cars around and bend poles and all that stuff. It's like, it's a bunch of nonsense. And then the whole idea that like John Cena and Vin Diesel are brothers, and it's not like it's half brother. No, it's just his brother.
Yeah, it's kind of. I mean, what's Vin Diesel's ethnicity? It's not Samoan.
It's multiple. Like, he literally directed a movie early on called Multifacial, I think it is, and it's about like how his family background is from like a lot of different places, and like how I believe that movie's about like trying to identify with a race when you're like multiracial or whatever.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if he was Hispanic or if he was half African American or something. Like, I can't ever. Like, I know obviously Dwayne The Rock Johnson's Samoan, and a lot of people are either Asian.
Well, Samoan African American. His dad is a famous black wrestler.
Yeah. Anyway, apparently my dog wants me to quit the podcast because it keeps scratching at the door. So I don't know if you guys are hearing that.
No, we weren't. So.
Yeah.
But we are about to wrap up.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh,
That's
you're fine. So this week for the American Greed Factory podcast, this is Nathan.
And this is Colin.
Andrew.
Goodbye, America. Dun, 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 dun.